Okay, everyone, we'll go ahead and get started. I wanted to first thank everybody for your orderly movement down here. What an incredible turnout we've had tonight. We're excited to see so many people here who would like to learn more about the proposed partnership between the town of Gilbert and BMX, USA BMX. We've got some presentations for you tonight, and I just wanted to lay a few ground rules that we're going to let the presenters get through their presentations, and then we'll spend as much time on Q&A as we need to at the end of this. So if you could hold your questions until we get through the presentation by USA BMX and by the town of Gilbert, and then we'll take as much time to delve into any areas that you'd like to. So welcome to the town of Gilbert. Thank you for coming tonight, and we look forward to some healthy dialogue. With that, I'll ask Vice Mayor Eddie Cook from the town of Gilbert to come up, and he's got a few words he'd like to say.
First of all, thank you for coming tonight. I am just overwhelmed. The mayor is not in the town of Gilbert. He went on vacation and said that I could not go on vacation while he was out. So I have the privilege of being where he's at, because I know tonight he would be extremely excited to be in front of this crowd, this level of excitement that you bring, here to Gilbert. I just want to share a couple things. Is that when I was a youth, in my years, many, many years ago, in high school, I used to build BMX bikes in welding shops. So this is back in the 70s when the sport was starting to kick off, and then I transitioned to motocross. But I do know how exciting this sport is. And in fact, a couple weeks ago, I did go up to Reno to see the first national event. I got to hang out with some of the Olympians at that event. Of course, we have Sam, who I got to hang out with a little bit. Great welcome here. We also have Donnie and Buddy here as well. The one thing about the event that I would like to share is that I was extremely impressed with the generations of bikers and cyclists that were there. From the 2-year-olds that were on those little bikes, I was just, it was just warm. I just felt such a warm heart feelings of watching those young little guys and gals racing around a track on those little bikes. And then it was nice to see from that age to someone that really inspired me, there was a 71-year-old gentleman racing that around the track, and I said, I could even do that. So I was telling my wife about this, and she says, you better not do that. You're going to hurt yourself, and that'll be the end. But anyways, this evening tonight is to talk about BMX and what we're thinking about as it relates to economic development and tourism in Gilbert. And we're extremely excited that this potential project will come here to Gilbert, and I know that all of your support that you have in this sport will just be kind of that reflection of that excitement and energy that could possibly come to Gilbert. So again, thank you for coming. Thank you for your support. With that, I'd like to introduce from BMX USA, BA, who is the president of BMX. So give him a round of welcome with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Eddie Cook. We are very grateful for your continued support of this project, Vice Mayor Cook. And thank you guys for coming. For those of you guys who don't know me, my name is Bernard Anderson, or otherwise known as BA. I am the CEO of USA BMX. I have been racing BMX since I was 6 years old. I've been traveling to the Chandler of Fry and McQueen since I was 7 years old, racing the Winter Nationals. BMX has been my passion all of my life. But I have to tell you, what you are about to hear this evening is the most exciting project I have had the opportunity to work on my entire career in BMX. About 1.5 years ago, we issued an RFP to build the USA BMX headquarters in conjunction with the USA BMX Hall of Fame, a national training center, and a museum. In conjunction with that, that is a world-class training center with an elite level starting hill, as well as an amateur starting hill. We had many responses from all over the country, several from here in the Valley. Of course, we wanted to stay here in the East Valley because this is kind of hallowed ground, because as you know, ABA, USA BMX, was founded at the corner of Fry and McQueen in 1977. So it's very fitting that the national headquarters for USA BMX would be located here in Gilbert, Arizona. With that said, it gives me great pride to be standing in front of you today to inform you that pending town council approval, we will be entering into a development agreement with the town of Gilbert to construct that world-class Olympic level training center that will be the home of USA BMX, Hall of Fame and Museum, the national headquarters, and feature the world-class elite level training center that we all need so much, as well as the amateur level track for the community. As the governing body of the sport of BMX racing, this project is not a build it and they might come dream. We are the governing body. We make the schedule, we place the events, and when I say we will be having an event, it will be here. In fact, we have an event this weekend in Northern Phoenix at Black Mountain BMX. That is an event that we will be hosting here in Gilbert eventually. So I'd like to invite each and every one of you guys to come out this weekend and witness what will eventually be happening here in Gilbert. So now I would like to introduce a short video, and then USA BMX CEO, or COO, sorry, didn't mean to give you a promotion, John. But Chief Operating Officer John David will then present what we do on a daily basis and what the actual project is and what it means to the city of Gilbert. Gmo, do you have the video ready, or do I need to hit enter up here?
Right behind you.
There we go.
Teamwork.
So I cannot tell you how excited we are to be here. Here's John David, Chief Operating Officer.
This is my glide. Hey, what a great way to start it off. Thank you so much, as BA said, as well as Patrick and Councilmember Cook, for the great attendance. We're so excited to have with you, and so excited, too, for those of you who don't know our story, to have the opportunity to share that story. As BA said, BMX originated here in the East Valley. American Bicycle Association started in 1977. So we're going to talk a little bit about who we are. As BA said, we are the national governing body for the international sport of BMX racing, or bicycle motocross, an important distinction that we always make, that we're all about bikes. Founded in 1977, and we've now grown to a membership base of more than 70,000 brand loyal members. We've got 380 local BMX tracks all across North America in 48 states, as well as in Canada and in Puerto Rico. We produce a monthly membership magazine, which many of you get, which is one of the proudest things we produce on that monthly basis, to put in your hands and get your children excited about this great sport. And of course, we own and operate a tremendous 30-race national series, which literally generates millions upon millions of dollars in economic impact. This is one of the greatest slides of the growth of the sport of BMX that you can see, and it shows that in 2008 we were just over 51,000 members. A lot of people have asked the question, as we've told our story, is your sport growing? And the answer is a resounding yes. In 5 years, we've gained almost 20,000 members. And for two really, really key factors. One, Olympic integration, which gave us so much great notoriety and so much great publicity and created opportunities like this one today. Secondly, the unification of our sport. At one time, years ago, there were two different associations. Now it's all under one roof, under USA BMX. In the town of Gilbert right now today, we've got 260 members. Certainly that doesn't sound like a lot, but that's not too bad at all when you think of the simple fact that there's not a single BMX track in the town of Gilbert. And we always tell people, imagine how many baseball players there would be in a community if there were no baseball fields. We also, in Maricopa County, have 3,200 members that actively race and participate, and in the state, we've got 5,000 members. Arizona is certainly one of our largest states of membership. So what is BMX? First and foremost, for those of you who don't know, it stands for bicycle motocross. It's BMX racing, single-speed bicycle racing on a professionally built dirt track, which we're going to define a little bit later about how this is going to look. As we keep saying over and over again, we're so proud that BMX debuted in Beijing at the 2008 Olympics, and of course, so excited to have our good friend Donnie Robinson, who won a bronze medal in Beijing. BMX, as many of you know, yeah, that's right. BMX, as many of you know, is absolutely and 100% a family sport, and it's in a family setting. The thing that I love so much, and our team loves so much to share with people who aren't familiar with our sport, is to tell you that fact that, yeah, it is an individual sport, but there is a team within BMX racing. That team is the family unit. My dad and my sister, BA and his parents, they travel together. The family is the team unit in BMX racing, and that's so incredibly special today in a society where most people are dropping their children off to participate in a sport. You all know this, that our BMXers, you participate in the sport as a family and as a team collectively together. The other thing that we love to say is within a demographic, how many other sports can you go to a single event and see a 1.5-year-old or a 2-year-old race, and in a few motos later go out and watch a 77-year-old, my good friend Ferris Farsons out of Georgia, ride around the BMX track? That's rare, that's unique, and that's special. The other thing that we love to broadcast and we love to share about this great sport is the simple fact of the matter that in our sport, in BMX racing, absolutely no one sits on the bench. Very, very unique from sports. Something that's absolutely incredibly special in that respect. And what we talk about, and when we define that and we explain that, that's the simple fact that we have proficiency levels. If I'm a brand new racer and I'm 8 years old, I'm starting out as a novice racer, racing against other 8-year-olds. I'm participating against other children that are of my same skill set, my same level. We see that all the time in sports where we dump young athletes into a certain sport and they're competing against people that have been participating for years. In BMX, there's such an easy point of entry because you can come in and participate at your own skill level, and you have the opportunity to grow with the sport as you go. That has been a touchstone and a part of the keys to our success. This is one of my favorite photos because it truly defines what BMX is. BMX is a family sport, and this is one of the greatest ones you're going to see out there. Hopefully this family may even be in this room tonight. But that's it. That's mom, dad, and you see a whole lot of jerseys. You've got 5 different members there racing, and guess what? You got a little guy that's about and probably already on a strider right now together. Another thing that's so unique about our sport is how many different sports can you go into and see a grandfather, a son or a daughter, and their children out there all racing together. Well, if you show up at a BMX track, you see it every weekend. We've got some great numbers here. We've got an average age of 13. We've got a very high spectator per participant ratio within our sport. You see this on the local level, and you see it on the national level. We average 3.2 spectators per participant. That's a tremendous number, especially when you compare it to other national governing bodies that do operations like we do. So you see some great things within some of those statistics, and the growth of the sport is certainly indicative of it. One of the things that people will tell you is that you're only as good as the organizations that you associate yourself with. You know, I tell my children that you're as good as the friends that you hang with, right? BMX is the same way, and USA BMX has some of the greatest affinity partners. First and foremost, USA Cycling that manages all other disciplines of cycling. Great friends of ours, we work with them on a daily basis. The United States Olympic Committee. They tasked USA BMX in 2012 to run their Olympic trials, and we work with them on running any Olympic qualifying events in the United States. We became a partner of the Nickelodeon Wildwood Day of Play, and we're one of the exclusive sporting organizations that were part of that. And in New York City, during the Nickelodeon Wildwood Day of Play, we actually set up a mock little BMX track. And guess what? There were more than 40 different sports that were represented in New York City. Guess which sport had the highest activity level? BMX. And that's for a reason. Obviously, UCI, our international governing body, one of the most prestigious organizations out there when it comes to international cycling. Again, great partners of USA BMX, and we host all UCI BMX events that are held in the United States. One of the great initiatives, and I love sharing this stuff because some of the people that are in here that are active with our sport may not know about it. There's a great campaign by Michelle Obama in the White House that's called Let's Move. The Obama administration selected 6 sports to be a part of the Let's Move campaign. We're one of 6. That's a special, special group to be a part of. Through the Let's Move campaign, you can literally go on the website, pick BMX, and find your local BMX track. And in one of our greatest causes ever is certainly the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society of America. All of our BMX tracks host such a special event every year with our annual Race for Life. The Race for Life, the proceeds are going, they're generated, and they go towards the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society of America. You all that are riders here, you know about this program. I'm proud to tell you that in 2013, we sent a check to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society for $302,000. We are annually a top 5 fundraiser for them, and we've been doing it for 25 years. Great cause, and it's because of the hard efforts of our BMX riders. So let's talk about some of the other special things that USA BMX does that have special meaning to this program here in Gilbert. First and foremost, we also host a great series called the Bob Warnicke Scholarship Race. We're so pleased now that 17 different universities, 17 universities offer BMX scholarships. We've got our top amateur riders in the world and our top professional riders now on scholarship to race BMX, which is absolutely astounding when you think about that. Last year alone in 2013, we generated $50,000 in scholarships to our very own, and certainly one of the goals for the new complex here would be to have a Gilbert-only scholarship program. We talked a little bit about the United States Olympic Committee and our special partnership with them. They've got an initiative called Olympic Day, where they wanted to go out and broadcast to the world how great their Olympic sports were. And when they communicated with us what their mission was, like true BMXers, we jumped on it 110%. And we ran 350 some odd Olympic Day events. And out of every single discipline that's Olympic, we ran more than half of the total Olympic Day events. And more than half of those events actually had Olympians like Sam, and like Donnie Robinson over there that were here to talk about the program and talk about what the Olympic movement means to them. Olympic Day is a very passionate part of our process and our programming. STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. This is one of the biggest buzzwords in the educational world. The great team at USA BMX sat out, and we wanted to find a way to make our sport, like we do every day, a household name. We certainly know that the children in schools are our core demographic. We've got a median age of 13 years old. That's really where we need to be as in the school system. So the great spirit, the great BMX spirit within our staff said, you know what? What if we created a curriculum for schools? And we absolutely did that. We created, and we're the only national governing body of any discipline to ever do this. We created a BMX after-school curriculum, and it's one of the neatest things you'd ever see. School systems and after-school programs, they get bicycles. They get a curriculum that was developed by a university in Colorado, and it literally teaches the children all of the great things about the geometry of a bicycle, the geometry of a gear ratio, the engineering behind the triangles within a frame, and things of that nature. And when we presented it out to educators, they said, this is one of the most dynamic programs we've ever seen. We absolutely had no idea that we could have this kind of success with a program like this, but I want to tell you that right now, today, the #1 distributor of BMX redline bicycles in the United States is, guess who? USA BMX through our STEM program. The numbers that we're going to be able to reach through this STEM program is outstanding, and the type of interaction, too, that we can have within Gilbert area schools is just tremendous. And we've got now several other organizations trying to copy us down the way, but we beat them to it. As we got into the STEM program and started interacting with educators, we found out something else, that there's a void in reading, in motivation to get children to read. So guess what we did? We created the USA BMX Read to Ride program, where now schools can have this type of program where riders or participants within the Read to Ride program, they're actually rewarded with things like bicycles and helmets and things of that nature to ride. So now when we go out and do this, to read, I should say, when we do this, we have a program that's out there, and it's not promoting that, you know, if you read so many books, you got a pizza. Now, if you read so many books, you're going to be able to get a great thing like a BMX bike. Great program, great initiative that we're there. Again, great activity within the Gilbert schools. Thanks. So let's talk a little bit about this venue specifically in the programming that we're going to be able to activate here. And this is something that we're so excited about. First, some of the great BMX imagery ever. That's a little guy actually from Black Mountain BMX that slept with his trophy. And that's really what our sport's all about. There's probably some little guys in here with their BMX jerseys that have done the same thing. This is going to be a local weekly racing program. You know, one of the biggest goals that we have is to have a program that's here for the youth of this community, you know, and for the families of this community. It'll host at least 50 BMX races near, so on a weekly basis, we're going to have local races, and we know that we anticipate averaging 120 and more riders per event. Practice events are essential. We're going to make sure that we've got practice events occurring on a 2-time per week basis, and we'll see 180 to 300 participants on a regular basis. We also wanted to make sure that we added an extra community benefit for Gilbert residents, because that's going to be the core of how this venue is going to be selected. So for Gilbert residents, there will be no USA BMX membership. That'll be waived. Additionally, Gilbert residents will receive a discount on race and practice entry fees. The beauty of this program, on a local level alone, when you look at a season that's from January 1 through December 15th, this will be one of the #1 recreational venues in the entire town. And we're very, very excited about that fact. Coaching and clinics are so core to our sport, you know, and it's something that's an enormous evolution. Within BMX racing, one of the really exciting things that's happened as the sport became Olympic is it created a different level of BMX tracks. It created BMX tracks that are now called supercross tracks that are much more challenging. And we need to have the ability to take our riders and elevate them to that and have limitless, you know, access problems that cause them the inability to get out on the track. So within the coaching, we're going to do weekly programs, weekly beginner to winter skills clinics, weekly amateur, you know, advanced amateur clinics for intermediate and expert riders, graduation to the BMX Supercross. So we graduate our junior level riders and our riders to that next level of BMX racing. On a weekly and a monthly basis as well, we're going to have elite Olympic level coaching that's going to be available for the ridership out there and training specifically for elite level athletes on the Supercross track. And also annually, we're going to hold a holiday and summer camps. This is spring break. Ideally, once this BMX track is up and operational, we've got a phenomenal week-long clinic that's going all along during spring break. So great programming in that respect. The Hall of Fame. One of the greatest things that our associations does is celebrate the pioneers that got us here. I'm proud to say we've got a Hall of Famer in the room in Donnie Robinson. You know, the BMX Hall of Fame is currently in Chula Vista, California at the Olympic Training Center. The Hall of Fame and the museum will be a part of the complex that we're constructing. We do a phenomenal annual Hall of Fame induction ceremony for about 400 people. That will occur at this training center and at this site as well. Let's talk about major events. These are the things that bring outside tourism to the community. These are the things that bring in economic impact, and these are the great events that we're hosting all across the United States. This program will host an annual Race for Life that will attract 300+ riders, an annual state race that will attract 400 riders or more, double points races, and the state finals at 600 riders or more. Again, when you're doing the math on these numbers, the multiplier is 3.2. That's how many spectators you're having at all of these events. It's literally millions of dollars in economic impact. Also, when you build a venue that's this great and that has these kind of capabilities, you have to bring in major national events. I'm proud to say with this venue, USA BMX is going to be committing to bringing both the Winter Nationals and the Fall Nationals right here. So that's all the applause for the people that don't have to travel quite as far now, but that's okay. To tell you about an event like the Winter Nationals, it's going to happen next weekend. Last year's race, we had 1,800 athletes there represented. 1,800 athletes, 45 states, 17 countries represented. That will happen twice a year here. So what's the program look like? First and foremost, when we talk about the design of the complex, it will be the worldwide home for the sport of BMX racing. It'll be a 4,000-seat covered arena. That's the way we're going to take care of you all in the summertime. It'll be one of the most sophisticated designed BMX tracks ever. It's literally custom made to host any event that can be thrown at it, whether it's the Olympic trials televised for TV, or whether it's going to be a national event that also has elite level athletes like these guys over here. It'll have a supercross track where in one lap you're going to be able to watch the fastest riders in the world go on, and in the next lap you're going to be able to see a 500 novice that's never even raced BMX before. That's something that you just don't see in sports today. This venue is going to do it. It will be an international Olympic-style training center with special capabilities to help these athletes to train on a day-to-day basis to bring them to the next level. It's going to have a bike park. One of the key components, and we'll talk about that later in the presentation from the town of Gilbert, is having a bike park for open access, for all of the different attendees of that discipline, of more freestyle BMX riding. That's going to be on the complex as well. It'll host the BMX Hall of Fame. It's also going to have community meeting space. As we've laid the design out in the conceptuals, one of the most important things that we wanted in this venue is not to be just the international home of BMX, but also to be an incredible community space for the town of Gilbert, where if the town wanted to host events or other different functions or other organizations, that they'd be proud to bring people in and to host them within community meeting space that'll be available. It'll certainly host the USA BMX offices. We're currently located in Gilbert, and unfortunately, we don't have any more closets to fill in the space for the staff that we keep importing. Right now, we've got 4 different staff members working out of state that we can't move into our town because we don't have the office space available. So we're excited to expand upon our 35-member staff. We've hired 7 new staff members because of that growth you saw earlier on the slide. It's also going to have retail, food and beverage, bike shop, and one of the most important functions, a real focus on youth outreach. That's a conceptual that you can see. Those pictures are all along, and this will certainly evolve as we go, where you're going to see the full integration of the bike park and the Hall of Fame, but the beauty of it is it's all on one facility. It's all on one campus. So when we talk about the summary of the community partnership and what this really means for the town of Gilbert, first and foremost, the economic impact through the events cannot be understated. This will have absolutely a phenomenal amount of economic impact from the tourism that BMXers bring in and out of the community. That's going to be paramount to the program and something that's so important, something that you all see that you do race. You see at the Winter Nationals and other events that we do. It's going to be expanded recreational opportunity. You know, it's going to be such a unique facility that so many different families can participate in this sport. And it doesn't matter whether you're a 500 novice that's just getting started or you're an Olympic level athlete, you're going to be able to participate within this program. Or if you're non-competitive and you want to ride on the freestyle bike park that's going to be available for you, it truly will cover, you know, every space available. BA and I have talked about it substantially. Our goal is to teach more kids how to ride bicycles at this venue than any other place in the world, and I know we can do it. It's going to have community programming like we talked about, venues and opportunities for the community to fully engage themselves, not just in BMX, but in other activities that are out there. And it's going to have a nationwide visibility for the town of Gilbert. One of the things that we pride ourselves so much is that there are communities out there. I was in Switzerland just a little while ago, and we were talking about the town of Oldsmar. That's a race we're going to have in a few weeks down the road in Florida. People know where that town is because you all as BMXers, you visited. Gilbert truly will be a household name within the sport and within the Olympic movement. It is an absolutely true public and private partnership that is the best of both worlds, with both the town of Gilbert engaging this fully and committing to it, as well as USA BMX. With that said, I want to make an introduction and talk a little bit about a couple of the guys that we brought in to chat with you a little bit and to tell you their story. One of the biggest challenges these gentlemen face that are sitting up here today is the fact that they simply don't have access. We're just like the NBA. Every top basketball player in the world lives in the United States. In BMX racing, it's the exact same way. Sam Willoughby's an Australian. He lives in Southern California. He came here because this is where the best BMX racing in the world is going to be. Sam's problem? To chase that, he got a silver in London. To go to Rio and get a gold medal, his challenge is access. He can't get on a venue like what we're hoping to build here. This is going to solve that. And what we're going to see Olympians that are literally going to move to the town of Gilbert to have access to this facility and to train and to be a part of your community. We've got three outstanding individuals that are here. First of all, three-time USA BMX National #1 pro, Bubba Harris. Donnie Robinson. Donnie's got a heck of a bio. 3 pro titles, the last American to win the world championship, 7 national age group titles, 3 world titles, Olympic bronze medal in Beijing, and a member of the USA BMX Hall of Fame. Donnie Robinson. All right, how about this guy, Sam Willoughby? Listen, for those of you who don't know him, this is one of the most dynamic guys in the sport. And for those of you who don't know him as a man and as a person, he's one of the greatest people that you'll ever meet. You know, like most BMX kids around the world, this Australian BMX fanatic had a dream. And actually, it was more than just a dream. It was more like an obsession. Since the age of 10, Sam was obsessed with one day coming to the United States and racing BMX and to take on the top BMXers in the world that our country's made of. After winning 2 consecutive junior world championships, the young Aussie took a big leap of faith and moved on to American soil to chase his dream. With access to some of the best U.S. sanctioned tracks in the world to ride on, Willoughby made his presence known on the national circuit. In 2010, he won his first #1 pro title in the U.S., and then he did it again in 2012, and he also won a silver medal in London. As if 2 #1 pro plates and a silver medal weren't good enough, last year Sam had what most will tell you was the best season ever in the history of the AA Pro title chase. In 2013, Sam ended the year with a total of 19 wins, including a record-shattering 13 consecutive wins. The previous record was 8 by John Purse. Then to top the season off, Sam wound up with 5 straight wins to win his 3rd title. Not to jinx him, but if Sam keeps it up for 2014, he can not only tie the long-standing record of 4-time national champion joining Pete Lonkarevich and Gary Ellis, but it will also tie Bubba Harris with a 3-peat. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Sam Willoughby.
Thanks, John, for making me sound pretty good. No, thank you for having me here tonight. Like John said, I moved over from Australia in 2008, and basically my dream, like he said, as a kid was to come to America and race against the best and make this my career. Since then, it's, the dream's gone from wanting to be in California, race BMX professionally, to now it becoming an Olympic sport. And like we've seen earlier, the growth of the sport since 2008 has been pretty astronomical. So since then, the new challenge now is being able to get on these new style of tracks that we have to race on to win world championships and ultimately Olympics. And yeah, for us all, really, that becomes a massive challenge, as they're not something that are very commonly found around the world these days, as they are pretty big facilities. And the facility that we see here is it's state of the art. It would be hands down the best BMX facility in the world, and it is something that I know, as far as my dream for the next Olympics in 2016, I'd soon become a Gilbert resident to be a part of this facility. So it's a very cool thing that we see going up here, and something that will, very soon see benefit American riders, but not only American riders around the world will now have a new reason to want to come to America, and more specifically Gilbert, Arizona. So I highly recommend that we all get behind this, and it is a massive growth for the sport, and not only for the sport, but for this town of Gilbert. So thank you for having me here today, and I hope to be back at the new facility.
Thank you, Sam, and thank you, John David. So who wants to see BMX in Gilbert? Big round of applause. Great. So with that, I would like to bring up Patrick, the city manager of Gilbert, for their side of the presentation, and thank you guys for attending.
Thanks, BA. I wanted to say a few words before I have our Economic Development Director, Dan Henderson, come up and make a presentation from the town's side of this on the deal that has been negotiated up to this point. Last spring, the town of Gilbert responded to a request for proposals from USA BMX, as BA had alluded to, and we evaluated that and evaluated its fit for our community. And over the last 9 months, we have negotiated a tentative deal with USA BMX to bring them to the town of Gilbert. I want to let everybody know that this is part of our public process. We're in here tonight. So again, we'll save plenty of time in the end for questions to make sure that we address any concerns there may be, answer any questions there may be, and we will continue to have ongoing dialogue as we work towards seeing if this is the right opportunity for the town of Gilbert. It has been a pleasure to work with them. All of them have been absolutely outstanding professionals to interact with over this last 10 months, and we are excited about the potential it might bring to our community. With that, I'm going to ask Dan Henderson to come up and talk about the deal as it's structured and the economic impact to our community. Thanks.
Well, thank you. My name is Dan Henderson, and I serve as the Economic Development Director for the town of Gilbert. We're going to give you an overview of the presentation, which begins to highlight some of the negotiation points that we have been working on over the last couple of months. We'll talk a little bit about the various components of the facility. I think it's important, as you hear sort of the context of this portion of the presentation, that you think about things in terms of 3 components. The first component is a corporate headquarters. You saw some information presented by USA BMX as to what the corporate headquarters would look like. The second component is really the bike track. That's the 4,000-seat covered arena. And then the third component is a bike park. So as this presentation lays itself out, be thinking of things in terms of those 3 specific contexts. So first, give you a brief project overview. It always helps to know where the location is. So the southwest corner of Germain Road and Greenfield Road. This is an Olympic caliber supercross track, 4th in the world, and will be the only one not controlled by an Olympic committee. The corporate headquarters is roughly a 20,000 square foot plus or minus facility that does include the corporate headquarters of USA BMX. It includes the Museum and Hall of Fame, relocated from California. and is the international training facility. As John David and BA mentioned, USA BMX is currently in Gilbert. So from that context, it is a retention and expansion opportunity for Gilbert to retain not only the corporate headquarters, but also the jobs. So why USA BMX is right for Gilbert? Two fundamental components. There is an economic development and tourism element, and we feel that it is consistent with the park's master plan, which took a considerable amount of vetting. As we begin to look at the economic and tourism component, it is centrally located with access to our central business district, as well as to a very dense commercial area known as the Santan Village. It has freeway access, just about a little over a mile off the freeway, which is a 4-diamond interchange. So the access to the facility is very pronounced. As this translates down into sort of a residential component, I'll be the first one to tell you that there is an impact to traffic. There will be an increase to traffic. Working with you and through citizen input and citizen engagement, there are no silver bullets as it relates to mitigating traffic impacts, but we think in working together, we can begin to identify what those issues are and work with you to develop some solutions to that. There is a noise component. As John David showed you in his presentation, there is an impact of individuals coming to this facility. And again, working through you and with you, members of the community, we want to begin to address those issues as well. So how is this consistent with the park's master plan? There are elements in the park's master plan which specifically reference a BMX park. We think that the BMX park is a needed amenity in the community. As you begin to look at the context of those amenities that were wanted or needed in the overall master plan, park's master plan, BMX didn't rank number one. It was down on a list. Fortunately, as we begin to develop public-private partnerships, which are paramount in delivering the various components of a park's master plan and all the various amenities that come to the community, working with international governing bodies, working with folks that are already vested in the community, working with an entity that chooses where all races and events go throughout the year are important elements in bringing a partner to play. We also feel that this site, as it was originally purchased, did have a special events center component to it. And so there has always been a vision to bring more impact and more amenities to this particular area of town. USA BMX, through contract negotiations, will pledge $1.5 million to cover the majority of the operational costs of the bike park, which is open and free of charge to all residents. Again, the project is in alignment with the park's master plan to develop a BMX track as well as seek public-private partnerships. Next, I think it's important, John touched a little bit upon it, as did BA, the timeline for this. This was a national site selection. This was a national search for the home of USA BMX. This was something that they went out to pretty much every community in the United States and said, you know, we're looking for a home. And through that site selection process, which is similar like to other, you know, corporate headquarters and other amenities that people bring into a community, site selection is a very important component. This site selection search met the criteria of Gilbert, family friend, very vibrant, very active with youth and amateur sports, which again is consistent with not only the park's master plan, but also with the general plan. If you look in the economic development section, chapter 9 of the general plan, working with public-private partnerships, adding tourism amenities, you know, working with existing companies to grow and enhance youth and amateur sports. These are all visions, and these are all elements in long-range type documents like a park's master plan plan and like a general plan that have been vetted through a public process and ultimately voted on and approved. So as you begin to look at this timeline over here, this started off around March 2013 for this national request for proposals. Gilbert worked its way down nationally and then regionally, and then ultimately was one of 2 locations in the nation that began to be identified and become essentially a home for USA BMX. USA BMX worked with the other community and worked with Gilbert. They worked with each community for about 30 days to determine what this response to proposal would look like, trying to vet out some of the components of that, and Gilbert then prevailed as the one and only location for USA BMX. So as you can see through this timeline, this was not a process that was done overnight. This was a process that took months to evolve. Again, looking at the site, this is a general vicinity map. You've got Germain Road, you've got Greenfield Road, and you've got USA BMX, a 10-acre site with 20-acre special event parking to its south. That 20-acre special event parking is designed to accommodate the overflow of the soccer complex as well as the various events for USA BMX. So this just gives you an orientation. The next slide is a conceptual site layout that John showed that is also, over here to my right and around these general municipal buildings that showcase what a conceptual site layout may look like. I think it's important to note that the corporate headquarters, the track, and the bike park are all sort of interwoven into sort of a community amenity that provides not 1, not 2, but 3 components that work together. It's essentially a concept that's been enveloped together to provide a very, very thought out and very exciting venue for the town. Here's another sort of conceptual track design, which gives you sort of more of a real version of what this might look like. This was taken from Rock Hill, I believe, or Rockport, and this gives you an idea sort of what the scale of that track might look like. It also gives you sort of the scale of the 2 different starting points. So again, still, why this area? Why this general area? Well, if you look at this map and you look at some of the elements that we've identified here, it's in that central business district. It's in a hub for entertainment and restaurants and shopping for commercial amenities, mom and pop amenities, small, medium, large size retail operations are all located within this sort of trade area. There's also a massing of hotels, which are a very important component in driving the economic impact. We wanted to make sure that this had hotels in the general vicinity. So as we begin to look at the partnership, we begin to look at BMX will pay back for the corporate headquarters. It's essentially Gilbert's portion of that is up to about $3 million. So up to $3 million. USA BMX will directly pay that back through lease payments, a market rate ground lease. They will also cover for not only the bike track but also the bike park, $1.5 million of operation and maintenance of the bike park adjacent to the site. The town has negotiated 10 days per year of meeting space and facilities. So not only will this be the home of USA BMX, it will also offer other additional amenities like public meeting spaces, for the town. Free membership to all Gilbert residents into the USA BMX. That was annually $65. Every man, woman, and child would get would receive this free membership, which allows them access to the site. 25% reduction of weekly practices and race fees to Gilbert residents. And again, as I said, a market rate ground lease for the corporate headquarters. So next I want to start talking a little bit about the partnerships, the track costs, the corporate headquarters costs, the park costs, and sort of lead you down sort of a path of total project costs. So as we begin to look at the partnership, we go to immediately the track costs. The track costs are roughly $12 million for this track that you see over here to my right, and the track that we showed you through conceptual site planning. Those costs are essentially paid back over time, a 30-year term, through direct revenues. I use that term direct revenues not to bring up funny math, but direct revenues are essentially those dollars associated with sales tax, bed tax, those kind of things. They deliver a direct revenue impact to Gilbert, and it pays over the term of this partnership for essentially all the costs associated with the track. The corporate headquarters, that has up to $3 million of participation for Gilbert, for which BMX will completely pay all associated fees, as well through a lease arrangement over the term of the agreement. Now we get to the park costs, and this is essentially the bike park. This for a 1 acre bike park, we're talking about $1.5 million. We have various options on how to pay for these costs. We've been working with consultants and other financial professionals to identify the costs associated with that. And it's important to note that while I don't have the exact transaction model today, we have a multitude of options to be able to deliver. So we've got a total project cost, of roughly $19 million. $3 million for the corporate headquarters, $12 million for the track, and the remaining dollars for the off-site improvements, traffic light warranted, if the traffic light is warranted, which we believe it does, the overflow parking, lead us up to about $19 million. So now I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the indirect costs. So some of the indirect or secondary impacts, essentially the indirect impacts to Gilbert are roughly $5.5 million. For the state, it's roughly $32 million. This brings in 23 jobs in the local economy through corporate headquarters activities, and another 84 for tourism-related activities. Overview of the economic impacts, essentially for, roughly about a $20 million project cost. We're looking at sort of an operation and maintenance component that begins to pay off the operations of the facility over the term, and we've negotiated some essential benefits. I think what's important at this point to note are the events that will take place at the facility. So what will take place at the facility is essentially 4 signature races. These are state, regional, and national races that would take place at the facility. 2 non-BMX special events. These are things like an archery event or a rodeo or something like that on the grounds, and a summer camp led by some of our Olympic medalists. Non-annual events would be every 4 years, at least 2 international events or races would be held, and these are things that lead up to Olympic trials and things that complement things related to the Olympics. We also have weekly events, roughly 2 practices per week, 1 race per week, with an average yearly use for the weekly events at around 25,000. We've bargained for and guaranteed that at a minimum that there would be bedroom nights committed contractually associated with this venue. So what does that mean? In years 1 through 5, we do roughly 3,500 at a minimum room nights per year. Years 6 through 10 at a minimum 4,000 room nights per year, and years 11 through 30 a minimum of 5,000 room nights per year. If these room nights are not met, there is a penalty to be paid, and the penalty would directly pay back Gilbert's portion, of the sales tax revenue. So that's sales tax revenue plus bed tax revenue. Some of the other things that we wanted to talk about are some of the televised events and some of the other things that, again, are sort of secondary impacts, but they're real and they're felt. So we've got NBC Sports televised USA BMX events, free ad space to Gilbert in the track facility, ad space in any program offered or sold at the events held at the track. Gilbert, and this is Gilbert, Arizona, listed as the home of USA BMX and all related marketing. So this is not anything that would say USA BMX, at this track, Phoenix, Arizona. This would brand Gilbert, Arizona as the location of this facility. And then one of the things that I like, at least 2 appearances by some of our recognizable BMX athletes to promote some of the youth issues that John talked about: health, STEM, education, and crime prevention.